Hi, everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture, from TV to film to comic books, anime, and so much more. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video, share it out, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, but also subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. I just hit over 800, so significantly um, portion of the journey is complete. I just need to get 200 more subscribers, and I would really appreciate it. All right, so on to the topic. One of the things that people have discussed on social media is Jason Aaron's recent run on The Punisher. So, Jason Aaron, he used to be incredibly talented. He wrote a lot of amazing comic book stories. There's no question about that. But recently, and you could kind of see this start to happen when he took over writing for the Avengers, he sort of has bought into, which this could be the publisher, being Marvel Comics, putting pressure on him, but he has definitely seemed to bought into the whole, hey, we need to insert political correctness into these titles. We need to start, appealing to this massive woke audience that's on social media, made up of mainly weirdos. And you can definitely see how that reflected in his run on The Punisher. So one of the things that he did was he took away the Punisher's iconic skull symbol and he changed it to a goat skull. He had the Punisher take over this ninja clan, and the ninja clan resurrected Frank Castle. That's the Punisher's true identity. Resurrected his dead wife. From there, the series just got worse and worse. It eventually ended where the Punisher was killed, but his wife brought him back to life and turned him over to the Avengers, who immediately locked him up. And then it concludes with her going off on this rant about how she's stolen all of his safe houses as an equipment, and he sold it all, or she sold it all and used it to buy her new vehicles and dresses, and she's going to live the high life. So, as you can imagine, a lot of longtime fans of The Punisher hated this. A lot of just longtime Marvel readers in general hated it. My history with The Punisher was I first saw him on Spider-Man, the animated series, where he guest starred during a sequence where Spider-Man was being infected by some sort of mutation. They thought that it was like the mutant gene. It ended up being something different, and so the Punisher was involved with this, and that was kind of my first experience with him. Now, this being a Saturday morning kids cartoon on Fox Kids, they couldn't have him actually kill anyone. So and like I said, I was real young, obviously, when this came out. I think Spider-Man, the animated series, debuted in '92, right? So I'm still pretty young at this point. Well, I happened to pick up a Punisher comic book that was being released at the time. I can't remember what the official title was. I want to say it was War Journal, but I could be incorrect about that. And I'm stunned to find out that this Punisher guy is actually a lethal protector. He takes out the bad guys and whatnot. And over time, especially post 2016, we're seeing a lot of these social media weirdos who want to put politically correct agendas, insert ideology, and make it a part of the story as opposed to there's no issue with putting politics in stories. The problem is when it floods the story, when that's all it's about, when characters are doing forced monologues that don't sound anything like a human being. And that's what they do with these stories. And we started to see this with The Punisher. And The Punisher became a frequent target of angst for these social media weirdos, putting pressure on Marvel to change the character, to change his skull and whatnot. And I think this is actually for a couple of reasons. I'm going to dispense them now. First of all, the Punisher is a very patriotic character. And in the comic books, he's very proud to be an American. And in fact, he idolizes Captain America. Captain America seems to be the only hero that he'll actually surrender to. At one point, he even posed as Captain America during the Death of Steve Rogers arc, although he was quickly the role was quickly taken from him, but he's highly patriotic, and he really fights to keep Americans, particularly New Yorkers, safe, right? And with these social media weirdos, it can't be about that. It has to be about globalization. Most of the Avengers, including Captain America, they tend to do things on a more global, broad scale. The Punisher, while he has had these kinds of stories in the past, tends to not be that way. He tends to deal with street crime, with pushers and hitmen and drug dealers and human traffickers. He's on the down low. And I really think that, and because of this, he really connects with, someone who, doesn't live in an affluent neighborhood, right? He connects with that person. And also the fact that he's always on the run. He's always in hiding. He doesn't live in a mansion like, Bruce Wayne does. He doesn't even live in a New York apartment like Spider-Man does. He tends to live in the sewers. He tends to, take up, he'll live in like the dirtiest apartment complex in New York City just to hide from the authorities and other superheroes who want to capture him. And so that sort of appeal to that rugged, patriotism. That's why soldiers would wear his skull on their uniforms, or why the policemen would wear the skull on their uniform. And it's that is, I think, a basic definition, is he appeals to sort of that, middle America that, sees all the trouble in the world and wants to bring an end to it by any means necessary to keep their family safe. And, as the Punisher says, he doesn't seek justice like, say, Superman does. He doesn't seek vengeance like Batman does. He seeks punishment. That's the whole reason for his title. He is a Punisher. And that leads us into my second reason why I think he gets so much hate now from these social media weirdos, and now from comic book pros who echo these asinine sentiments. And that is because it is impossible to tell his story in a politically correct way. And no matter how you slice the Punisher, he just can't fit into an ideology of the collective. It's not possible. The Punisher has seen things, and this goes against everything. These sort of globalists, these collectivists, they tend to think that humans, if they're put into a situation, that they'll do the right thing. And of course, we know that's not true. Humanity is broken. It is nothing without, a savior. That's what I believe. I believe that humanity is broken. Not necessarily that someone's going to wake up in the middle of the night and say, you know what, I'm going to go murder my neighbor. But they're just not necessarily for you. They're for themselves. It's a very selfish, greedy attitude and that's become more prominent. And then in this collectivist, globalist way, the Punisher doesn't fit into that, because the Punisher has seen the dark side of humanity. Just in the death of his own family, he sees how destructive just a regular human being. I mean, think about his villains. Jigsaw, he's all scarred up, but he's just a regular villain who is evil. And the Punisher wants to punish that kind of darkness, that kind of evil. He wants to snuff it out by joining it. Now, I have philosophical reasons for disagreeing with that attitude, but it makes for a compelling fictional character. I don't need every character to reflect my worldviews, but these social media weirdos do, quite frankly. And the Punisher just can't fit in with this, so they have to constantly be bringing down. And Marvel seemed to realize this. One aspect of the Punisher is he's constantly killing his villains, right? That's why he has to sometimes cross over with Spider-Man villains or Daredevil villains or even Captain America villains. It's because he runs out of them so much. I really think that's why for a while he was kind of regulated to, at the time it was called Punisher Max. So Max was a mature audience read. It was very violent, very graphic, a ton of foul language, and the Punisher was heavily featured in the Max continuity. And in that one, he didn't even deal with comic book villains. He tended to deal with even even real life criminal organizations, and I think that that is why they had to do this. So that it's not enough that they can't just cancel the series or have him retire off like what they did with the original Nick Fury. They have to damage and humiliate his image. The only problem is these social media weirdos aren't the ones buying the comics. And this is clear by the sales. Fans are tired of having their favorite characters be deconstructed. It doesn't make sense for it. It doesn't work, and we just want to see our favorite characters engage. And with the Punisher, we want to engage with him with how he is. It doesn't have to be. If they want to tone him down like they did for the Spider-Man the animated series, that's fine. But to cave to these weirdos who don't actually read comics, they just find random scans and then post them on Instagram and cry about it. Literally shaking. That kind of mentality. So yeah, that's what I think is. That's why he doesn't fit in sort of this world that the Tumblr crowd, the Instagram crowd, the Reddit crowd, the Twitter crowd, these social media weirdos who have incredibly loud bullhorns that Marvel Comics and DC Comics are caving to, and it's only hurting the brand. And for my personality, I would just like to say I really enjoy reading The Punisher. Mike Baron, amazing run on The Punisher. Probably one of the best runs of The Punisher. And with this whole new way about they're going to do Frank Castle, I think it's going to be a disaster. We're seeing this also happen with Captain Marvel, who used to be Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. No matter what they do to try to make her cool, they only end up making her look more ridiculous. I mean, her new costume that they just revealed looks like a high school marching band costume. And we're seeing this with the Punisher. They really want to bring back readers. They need to restore these characters back to what made them iconic. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.